Hi, Patrick here, Have Cheetah Will View, and welcome to Dollar Theater, the Voters Edition. So today, the movie that you guys picked by your vote with 39% is 1986's Heartbreak Ridge, starring Clint Eastwood. The reason why this disc is out like this is one of this week we took out five movies from a book, a folder, so to speak. My buddy Catfish, he left several behind. And so I thought I would honor him this week and bring out one of his movies. Heartbreak Ridge, like I said, it's 1986. Clint Eastwood, Everett McGill. Great bad guy, by the way. God almighty, that guy plays a great bad guy. Moses Gunn and Marsha Mason are in this film, as long as Mario Van Peebles. So real quick, the movie it's pretty standard in a lot of respects, but it's still a good movie. It's fast moving, and one of the interesting thing about this movie, um, with Clint Eastwood movie, he plays a lot of heroes and whatnot, but he always plays flawed men. They're heroes, but they're flawed. They're not anti-heroes. Um, I mean, I don't. That's a good question, I guess. I mean, is he an anti-hero in his roles? I don't really don't see Clint Eastwood as playing that role. But here he plays a Marine named Thomas Highway, and he is near the end of his road as far as being a Marine before he has to retire. And he's not handling it too well. He gets into brawls, he gets drunk, he ends up in jail, causes more fights in jail. Um, he's just a hard bitten man. He can't have every relationship he has, including his marriage, has not worked. The Marines are all that he knows. That's the only thing he knows. He has no idea, and I think that's one of the reasons why he drinks a lot, because he doesn't have anything outside the Marines. He doesn't know what he's gonna do. Um, I dare say, looking back at it from 1986 to now, his character, while I was rewatching this movie, I could have seen him as one of the 22. Um, and you can look that up because he's a very unhappy man. He's very unhappy, and he's bitter, and but he's got a good heart. He means well. He wants to keep his men alive. He wants to get them trained. Where he's also a Medal of Honor winner, and he got that in a place called Heartbreak Ridge, where him and a group of his men fought hard for 3 days against the North Koreans or Vietnamese, the North Vietnamese, and him and two other men were the only ones left. Everybody else was gone, and then one of the other two, he didn't make it out either. So only Highway and his friend Chozu uh, make it out alive. So after his latest escapade of getting drunk and landing in jail, he gets transferred back to uh, the Marine Second Division, and he's told, this is what you want, but be careful what you want, what you wish for, because you can get it. And that's what happens. Highway gets there, and he gets placed into the command, Major Powers, who is a by the book Academy Marine. He went to Air Force Academy, um, and he is just he's I don't know if he went to Air Force, probably Naval Academy. I would think he went to the Naval Academy, but he's just and he's not a very nice man either, and he doesn't show Highway any respect either. Um, as I did not know this, so I was researching this, but if you're a Medal of Honor winner, everybody salutes you. Everybody, um, from the lowest private to chief of staff, you have earned that right. They come salute you. Um, so he doesn't respect Highway's career or accolades, which is really jarring once you start thinking about it. Um, and so he gets tossed to the weakest men it's supposed to be a recon platoon, and they're just a bunch of fuck ups. Um, and so Highway's already met one of them, a young man named Stitch Jones, who has who first he tried to steal his beer, and then he then he stole a meal from Highway, and then he jumped on the bus to the base and left Highway behind. So when he comes out of the shower and there's Highway looking at him, well, you just know there's going to be some sparks flying right there. um, Come in, he has to clean up these men up. I mean, they're just absolutely their former training officer, he retired. So they're left without any really direction. So Highway's there, and he comes in there and immediately starts kicking ass. Gets them up, he gets them running, become like Marines. Of course, they resent him at first, and they feel like, well, we chased one officer out into retirement, we'll chase this one too. And so they have a big guy named the Swede that they're going to send in there to make sure that happens. Well, Highway's he's been in the Marine Corps an awful long time and saw hand-to-hand combat a lot, and he takes out the Swede really quick. And we see the Swede really, he didn't really have the heart for it. In fact, he was actually the only one of the group of trainees that actually went. He didn't want Highway out really. He was doing what his friends wanted, but after Highway slugs him, he doesn't hold any resentment, and he knows that what he has done is wrong. He says, I'll go wait outside for the MPs. And Highway understands that his heart was not in conflict with him, and he tells them to get out there and becomes a valuable member of the platoon. So of course we see the men trained. They find out that Highway finds out that Major Powers has basically been using these guys as bait, as fodder for his own platoon, the rest of his battalion, and so Highway resents that because that's part of his job, is to making sure his men come back alive. So he arranges to turn the tables on Major Powers twice. And after the second one, Powers and Highway, they battle it out in some water. And Powers is younger and stronger, but Clint Eastwood, or Highway, is he's a lot smarter, and he has more purpose. He's more aggressive. So he takes care of Ring. Of course, that resents him. So we see that he tries to reconcile with his ex-wife too, and it's slow going at first, and you could definitely see why there were problems, and that's a shame too, because his wife was played by Marsha Mason, and her name was Aggie in the movie, and she was really good. She was really good. Of course, Marsha Mason's good in everything she's in. So the men continue to, train. When Highway asks for equipment, Major Powers initially wants to send him to go to the chain of command, and Highway's like, well, by the time that happens, we could be in an engagement, and my men could be dying. And so when the colonel comes by, he and Highway discover that they served with each other in Vietnam, and so Highway's men gets their equipment, and then of course at the end of they always have to have a big ending. So Highway and his men are Highway's at a dance with Aggie, and then they get a call about Grenada, and so the second division gets aboard on a ship and heads down to Grenada to rescue American students. Yeah, that's a fun movie. I mean, it is fun. It's in the Grenada. I was really surprised by Grenada was how accurate they got. This is pretty much how the fighting went down there, including the destruction of the one armored car they showed that pins down Highway and his men. the ending of the movie where Major Power gets his comeuppance is hilarious and it's a classic. Um, and again, though, I hats off to Everett McGill for playing Major Powers. And of course, many of you might might not know the name Everett McGill, but you'll know the face. He also played the antagonist in Under Siege, Dark Territory, which he was very good. He was very formidable, very formidable. Um, and of course, he has a good he always has a good track record playing. He always gets played a little bit of bad guys. Is he a bad guy here? No, he's arrogant. He's arrogant, but he's not. He's not a bad guy. He's a Marine. Um, he just needed the newspaper across his nose for him to understand his place and to give respect to men who deserve it, who have earned it. And one gets the feeling that even though he gets dressed down by the colonel, uh, um, you have a feeling that he's learned something from this. And I don't know what will happen to him. Of course, we don't know what happens, except that we do know that Stitch Jones, played by Mario Van Peebles, he ends up re-enlisting in the Marines and he's going to try to make a career out of it. So that was really cool. I like Heartbreak Ridge. It moves along really fast. It's well acted. It's predictable. It's predictable. It's and by that mean and the big fight with Grenada. I mean, we definitely got a bit of a bloody nose down there, and the real invasion of Grenada, we did suffer 19 losses. Our troops, we lost 19 men down there, so it wasn't a cakewalk in any means. But it's still, looking back at it, was mostly a minor skirmish. Um, so the threat wasn't all that big. Uh, but but that is Heartbreak Ridge. I think it was cool. I liked it. I haven't seen it for a little bit. Really enjoyed the acting. Marsha Mason's one of my favorite actresses. She did one of my favorite top films, and which ended up having a major influence in my life later on. It's called Promises in the Dark, and that came out, and that was one of the more powerful movies I've seen. Highly recommend that. But that's it for Dollar Theater on for this edition. By the time this comes out, I'll have a new one up. I'll have the next 5 movies up and running, and you guys can start the voting all over again. So, but thanks for watching and thanks for commenting. We do answer every and all comments. Thank you for your support. Wouldn't be here without it. And yeah, we'll see you soon. Peace.